So today we're going to dive into something pretty wild, a piece of technology called the Comprehensive Screenplay Generator. We're talking about a system that can take a tiny spark of an idea and spin it into a full-blown screenplay, complete with characters, dialogue, the whole shebang. Let's see how it actually works.
All right, let's just start with a crazy thought. Imagine you've got this great idea for a movie, right? What if you could just whisper that idea into a machine and then sit back and watch as it builds the entire world for you? Well, that's exactly the question this tech is trying to answer. And here it is, the answer to that question, the Comprehensive Screenplay Generator. Now, this isn't just some simple writing assistant. Oh no, it's a full-on automated pipeline designed to take a basic concept and turn it into a detailed, ready-for-production script package. It's pretty incredible.
So where does a journey like this even begin? Well, like any great story, it all starts with an idea. The very first step in this whole process is all about capturing your creative vision. This is where you, the creator, get to play director right from the start. You feed it the core story idea, of course, but you also get to set the creative guardrails. You can dial in the genre, whether it's sci-fi or comedy. You can set the mood. You want it dark and gritty or light and fun, and you tell it the project type, like a short film or a TV pilot. Think of these as the initial instructions for your creative robot. Okay, so once you've planted that creative seed, your idea enters the pipeline. And this is where the real magic happens. You can honestly think of it as a fully automated story factory. The process breaks down into 5 key stages. First, it just checks all your inputs to make sure everything makes sense. Then, it gets to work building the foundation. It comes up with a title, a logline, and the core themes. Next up, the really cool part, world building. After that, it dives deep, fleshing out every single scene with action and dialogue. And finally, it takes all those pieces and assembles them into one cohesive script package. And this is where the system gets really, really smart and efficient. Instead of creating characters and then creating locations one after the other, the pipeline does both at the exact same time. So while one part of the system is dreaming up characters with rich backstories and motivations, another part is simultaneously designing the very world they're going to live in. This parallel approach is a massive time saver. Now, once the automated factory has done its job, the story isn't necessarily over. This is the crucial part where the human collaborator, the writer, the director, you, steps back into the driver's seat. Let's take a look at the toolkit you get to work with. You get this incredibly powerful dashboard with 5 different ways to interact with your new script. There's an overview for the basic stats, a data view where you can manage your characters and locations in a nice grid, and of course, you can view the full screenplay. But here's where it gets wild. There's a timeline editor for audio and video, and a voices view, where you can literally assign unique text-to-speech voices to every single one of your characters. And get this, you don't have to start from a blank slate. The system is super flexible. If you already have a script you've been working on, you can just import it and immediately start using all these powerful visualization, editing, and audio tools. It's not just a generator, it's a full-on production environment. Now, if you are going to import a script, there's a key format to use. It's called Fountain. And the reason is simple. It's just plain text with super simple, unbreakable rules. Character names are always in all caps. Scene headings always start with INT or EXT. This makes it incredibly easy for the system to understand exactly what's what, unlike, say, a PDF, where formatting can get messy and confuse the parser. So we've seen what the pipeline does, which is already impressive. But now, let's pull back the curtain a little and talk about a recent engineering breakthrough that makes the whole thing so much more powerful. Let's talk about the how. The system was recently upgraded to become what's called a self-contained pipeline. What does that mean? Well, in simple terms, all the code for the screenplay generator, the user interface, the server stuff, everything, lives in its own little universe, totally separate from the main application. And the huge win here is that you can make changes and updates to the pipeline without having to rebuild the entire system from the ground up every single time. And this little chart right here just makes that benefit crystal clear. Before, on the left, everything was tangled up in the main app. Any tiny change meant a full, slow, time-consuming rebuild. A total headache. But now, after the upgrade, you see on the right that everything is independent. Changes are isolated, which means they can be deployed almost instantly. This is just a massive leap forward in development speed and agility. This quote from the project's documentation really reveals the smart thinking behind the new architecture. Think of it like a library. Instead of letting every component run around and pull books off the shelves themselves, which would be chaos, there's a central librarian, the provider, that handles all the requests.
It's a simple rule, but it prevents a ton of common bugs and keeps everything nice and organized. So we've gone on quite the journey, huh? From a simple idea all the way to a fully realized script, all powered by some seriously clever engineering. So let's take a quick look at the impact of this new, smarter approach. This timeline just says it all. Look at this pace. On March 15th, they just had the basic framework. A day later, they're fixing bugs. Just 2 days after that, they're adding complex features like voice generation. And by March 21st, less than a week from the start, the entire system was upgraded to be self-contained. That kind of speed is a direct result of that new independent architecture. And all of this brings us to one final, really important question. When you have a tool that can automate so much of the creative heavy lifting, building worlds, writing dialogue, even casting voices, what happens to the storyteller? Well, it doesn't replace them. Instead, it changes their role. It frees them from the more mechanical parts of the job to focus on what really matters, the big idea, the emotional core of the story, and the final creative vision. It turns them from a writer into a true world builder. So, what's next? You tell me.